To understand where Help You Sell fits in the world of residential real estate and why it makes so much sense, it is important to take a look at the state of the industry over the past 60 years. In that period, 3 great revolutions occurred, each one propelling Help You Sell forward as the best choice for consumers, brokers, and agents. The residential real estate business blossomed in the years following World War II. GIs returning from Europe and Asia were anxious to build families and embrace the American dream, and VA financing made it possible for many. The typical real estate broker was a fixture in the community, a solid citizen, active in civic affairs and well known throughout the community. Every town had a shop on Main Street with a sign hanging out front proclaiming John Doe Realty. Those early brokers stayed in business only by listing and selling more real estate. It was a business built on who he or she knew and who knew them, and growth came with satisfied customers and personal referrals. When the broker had more business than he or she could handle, then they placed a classified ad and looked for a licensed agent to help by taking care of the overflow. Agents were hired only when there was too much business, and they were hired as help. By the time the 70s rolled around, some of these independent brokers had made an interesting discovery. Every time they added an agent, they also added that person's sphere of influence. Some began to realize that if they added agents, even if the business wasn't producing enough to warrant help, they could grow and expand on the additional business new agents would bring. It was the birth of recruiting, and it was something the franchises latched onto, professed, taught, and set as the broker's single most important job. This was the first revolution, and it changed the industry forever. By shifting focus from listing and selling more real estate to recruiting more and more agents, brokers took a big step back from the business. In effect, they got out of the real estate business and into the recruiting business. And it worked pretty well for a while. But the 80s brought another revolution. It was clever, and again, it changed everything. Since the path to success in real estate was now dependent on adding more and more agents, and since the most important factor in many agents' decision about where to work was the commission split, some brokers realized that the higher commission split they could offer, the more agents they could attract. It didn't take long before the 100% concept was born, and it swept through the industry like a brush fire in a drought. Traditional brokers touted training and support, but ultimately could do little more than stand by the front door and wave as agent after agent went down the street to work. In the end, traditional brokers began to adjust their commission splits up and up. Company dollar got lower and lower, and profitability began a slow slide to improbability. By the mid-90s, very few residential real estate companies made a true profit on the sale of real estate. With agent commissions averaging 70, 75, even 80%, and facility and equipment expense rising, brokers were caught in the big squeeze. Brokers caught in this squeeze coped in several different ways. Some brokers got involved in ancillary services like mortgage and insurance, using the real estate office as a feeder business for these new and profitable entities. Others used agent production to carry office expenses, relying on their own personal production for an income. Everyone slashed budgets wherever they could, but especially in the realm of marketing. Since agents were being paid so well, brokers couldn't afford to market and turned this responsibility over to the agents. The end result was that by and large, marketing didn't get done, and when it did, it was focused not on selling real estate, but on selling the agents. The third revolution started around the turn of the century and continues today. It was the moment when technology began to catch up with real estate consumers. Prior to then, they did not have access to information about properties for sale and neighborhood values and were dependent on MLS-enabled realtors to get it. But the internet made information readily available to everyone. Open access to information via the internet has had a profound effect on just about everyone. Consumers were doing much of the work they used to pay real estate professionals to do, and yet the fees remained the same. It was as if real estate consumers all across the country folded their arms across their chests and said, "Remind me again, exactly what am I getting for my 6%? A large part of the rationale traditional agents used to justify their commissions evaporated. The commission expense on the HUD-1 closing statement began to appear larger and larger, and an already disenchanted public felt increasingly ripped off. Brokers and franchisors scrambled to invent new ways their agents brought perceived value to transactions. In some ways this was good, as the scramble produced consumer-friendly innovations like Listing Book, short code text message marketing, QR codes, and the like. That brings us to today. We have an industry that is totally invested in the old recruiting-driven, agent-oriented business model. Even the innovation that's going on, multi-level marketing, virtual offices, state brokers, and so on, is based on the old model. Meanwhile, we have a consuming public that believes that real estate practitioners are paid way too much. They are hungry for an alternative and just haven't found one yet. And here is Help You Sell. Consumer-focused, broker-centric, charging a logical and fair set fee for service that, in the current environment, looks like a bargain. The opportunity for Help You Sell brokers is huge, not just to sell real estate, but to change the way real estate is sold.